everybody, this is Matt.
This is Chris.
And we're at Texas Toast Guitars. If you have ever thought that a Gibson Relic guitar should have a busted off headstock that's been repaired, go ahead and click that subscribe button now. So today we want to talk a little bit about the much misunderstood zero fret. So what is a zero fret?
So what a zero fret is instead of having a nut for the string to ride over at the 0 point, you have another fret.
Okay.
And then you have a string guide that the strings ride through so that they don't slide all over.
I think that a lot of people associate zero frets with cheap guitars because in the 60s there were a lot of Japanese import guitars that were pretty sucky. I know that people think they're cool now, but 10, 20 years ago nobody wanted them. And lots of those had zero frets, and people associate zero fret with that. There are a handful of guitars, however, throughout the years that are certainly not inexpensive that have zero frets. One of them is the Mosrite guitar. Gretsch made at least one guitar. The Country Gentleman had a zero fret. And Steinberger guitars had zero frets too. So let's talk a little bit about what are some of the advantages and disadvantages of having a zero fret. So what are the disadvantages that you can associate with a zero fret?
Disadvantage over time is the zero fret can end up with dents in it from the string tension and just from vibration. So
because the strings are always constantly pushing on the zero fret.
Yeah, so you end up with a little bit of a divot on those strings, and if you're into bending, what can happen is it will bounce in and out of that groove, and it makes that kind of noise.
So they should make zero frets out of stainless steel fret wire.
Yes.
Then they never, ever, ever fail.
Or some sort of bone.
Yeah, yeah, just make a nut. That's really the only disadvantage I can think of with the zero fret, except for the stigma associated with them.
Yes.
Well, actually, wait a minute. You were saying earlier before we made the video that if you're going to cut a string guide out of metal, which this Mosrite, this is one that Chris made a couple years back, and it has a metal string guide, so it's a little more difficult to work with than plastic or bone is. But you could make a string guide out of plastic or bone.
Yeah, I've made a bunch of there. Yeah, really easy and much easier.
Way easier than making a nut.
Yeah, because you don't have to dial it in.
This guitar still looks like $1 million.
Yeah.
And this finish, it looks like a Jolly Rancher.
Yeah.
I want to make sure to tell everybody out there who thinks the Fender Custom Shop is cool that this is not candy. It looks like candy, but it's not candy, and you're not to eat this. Okay, now let's talk about some of the potential advantages of using a zero fret. One, as we already talked about, is it's easier to do than cutting a nut because you're just riding on a fret and the string guide is only keeping the strings from falling off the guitar.
And I think in a manufacturing sense, if you're making a lot of guitars,
yep,
and you're making a lot of guitars quickly,
and especially if your workforce doesn't have a lot of skill.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost a can't fail way to get acceptable action.
In fact, you can get really great action because the strings are riding on the exact same frets all the time that they are down here. Now, some people kind of get this wrong, and they're like, well, how can that be if the fret is the exact same fret at the nut as it is everywhere else and it doesn't buzz like crazy? Well, if you imagine, it's just like putting a capo on your 7th fret or on your 12th fret. It's exactly the same thing. But some guys will put a slightly taller piece of fret wire for the zero fret.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of hedge your bets against any buzzing by doing that, but you can get a really, really low action if you use the exact same fret wire. Another potential advantage would be the strings all sound the same, open strings and fretted strings. I've never experienced that myself, but someone who has a really good ear could probably hear that. I don't know. Yes. Maybe Chet Atkins could hear that.
Maybe that's why his guitar has
Maybe, yeah. So Chris, the zero fret is making a little bit of a comeback actually.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah.
So there's at least one outfit that makes a like a replacement nut. It's called the Zero Glide. And they make a replacement nut for, you know, your standard guitars, Fenders and Gibsons and others. And what it is, we'll roll in a picture here. It's a piece of fret wire in front of a nut. It looks like a nut, but it's a piece of fret wire that covers up the first bit of it.
Yeah, so they build in a string guide and fret wire.
Yeah, and so if you wanna give if you wanna try out a zero fret, that would be one way to do it. Pretty easy. Gibson has started offering one of their fancy robo guitars with something called the zero fret adjustable nut, or the Z fan, it's again, we'll roll in a picture. It's a little bit like a zero fret. It's got a groove in between where the string actually stops and what becomes the string guide. It's kind of cool because you can adjust it all the way up, and you can go from playing just like Slash on your regular Les Paul. You can adjust it way up and hit the button on the back of your Robo Tuny thing and tune to open G, and then you sound just like Ry Cooder, like that. So anyway, so there's a handful of people that are doing that. You know, in the 70s, people replaced their bone nuts with brass nuts.
Yeah.
And I think that was probably somebody decided, I want to hear the exact same sound. I don't know why they did that.
I don't know either. And almost everybody that I run into now that
hates the idea.
Yeah. You say, "Oh, you had a brass nut put in? How'd you like it?" I hated it.
Yeah, it sucked.
Yeah, it was really expensive, and the guitar never played the same.
So I would imagine, since we've never talked to Ace Frehley, maybe he was into it. Yeah, the DiMarzio Super Distortion and the brass nut, like everybody had in the 70s, and so who knows. Anyway, guys, if you have any questions about zero frets, or if you have any stories about a zero fret, or advantages or disadvantages you think we may have forgotten, please leave those in the comment section below. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up, and hey, if you appreciate content like this, we have a new thing. It's our Patreon page. So you can become a member of the Texas Toast Patreon page. There's a link below in the description, and there's lots of cool benefits for signing up. And for as little as $1 a month, it makes a big difference. If you can't do that, we totally understand. Make sure and share this video with as many people as you possibly can, because we are not monetized on YouTube, and so we miss out on all that ad bot. We don't get put into the algorithm, but I don't want to have any commercials for green beans in front of the videos. So anyway, this is Matt at Texas Toast.
This is Chris at Texas Toast.
Reminding you that if you're so smart, build it yourself. That's what we do. Thanks for watching, everybody.